Hey, you guys, welcome back to Lisa and Zoe Take Two. We're back, right, Zoe? So,
Yeah, hopefully.
yes. She is in the UK and just had like a total blackout, but we're back. And so we're going to start all over again. Good thing we weren't in like 45 minutes because then that would have really sounded
That
bad.
would have been that would have been
Yeah.
cold, but hey.
So come back on in here, you guys. Join us again. If you like what we're talking about, remember, we have stars available. Yay, Tamika said we're back. Yes, we're back. And we are talking about self-love after abuse. So Zoe, I apologize to actually do this again, but there's some people that need to hear it. And I'm also going to mention I mentioned to her a second ago how much I love her short hair, and I'm going to mention it again on camera so you can kind of tell us a little bit about that story. But
Sure.
today, you guys, I'm joined by Zoe Parsons. She's a life and a relationship coach. She's also the founder of Self Love After Abuse, and this is our second time talking. So I'm super excited to have Zoe back on with us again. So Zoe, welcome. So glad that you're
Thank
here.
you.
And she's joining us from London, where I think you guys are in lockdown again, right?
We are in lockdown again. It's kind of, yeah, the only thing you can buy is food and alcohol. So I'm actually all right with
Back
that.
in the
But
house, yeah, and then have to get back in the house. Well, thanks for taking the time to join us again. And so, Zoe, please tell us a little bit about your story. And for those that you guys are tuning in, say hey, let us know where you're tuning in from. We're glad that you're joining us. Okay, Zoe. So,
yeah, I was in an abusive relationship. I was in one for 6 years. We was married. I genuinely didn't know what an abusive relationship was because my mum's explanation to it when I was younger, like a teenager growing up, she said, "Oh, if a man ever hits you, gives you a black eye, you leave." So I was kind of like, well, why wouldn't you? But what she didn't explain to me and what I was never educated on is all the tactics, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the coercive control, the love bombing, the how they use all these things. They build you up so much until they essentially just break you down. And you kind of end up losing the person that you was when you was with them, and you just become totally different. I know with my ex, I felt confident, but by the end of it, I just felt so broken. And I remember like eventually the abuse just escalated and escalated. It started off well, small, but obviously abuse is still abuse, with pinching, and he would grip my skin and give me Chinese burns and grab my wrists and like restrain me. And then what I was saying about why I've got short hair now is because my hair used to be long, it used to be down to my waist. And one of the things he used to do is he'd always put his hand up into my hair, fist it up, grab it, pull me down, like hold me in place. And essentially use my hair as a weapon. So one day I just thought, well, I'm not going to let him do that anymore. And I went and got my hair cut short. And so I kept it short. And it was weird because at the time I did it, everyone said to me, "Oh, why have you cut your hair?" And I just used the excuse. And I said, "Oh, it's because I've just had a baby. And it took me too long to wash my hair, straighten my hair, dye my hair, maintain my hair while I'm basically minding a baby." And that wasn't the reason at all. And I think
wow.
we get conditioned to just hide what's happening.
Yeah.
I could have totally been open and honest about why I'd cut my hair, but obviously I didn't. I felt shame. So I I just kind of blased it out and made different excuses. I mean, why my hair's kept short now is because I love it. And I decided, it's a real statement. And
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
love
could have
that.
grown it back if I wanted to.
I love differentiating because initially you cut it because he used it as a weapon in your abusive
Mm-hmm.
relationship, but now you leave it cut because you love it.
Exactly.
And it's a choice. And I think I love that line between the two because sometimes we do things initially for a reason, especially in an abusive relationship. But now you do it
Totally.
because it's a choice. It's something that you decided for yourself that you love and that you continue to do. So
Yeah.
I know that we're backtracking a little bit, but I know that you talk about how your ex-husband got 11 and a half years for
Mm-hmm.
stalking, rape, and abuse towards you. So I know we went over
Yes.
it, but since we missed that recording, could you just tell us a little bit about how that ended up happening? Because I
Yeah.
think that survivors oftentimes don't get to see that type of justice in their situation.
No.
So,
I mean, it's weird because like I feel lucky, and then I think I shouldn't feel lucky that I was able to get a guilty verdict for rape and ABH, and that there was enough evidence to be able to convict him. I mean, the only reason why he got the conviction for ABH is after we separated, I had the police remove him. For 6 months, he stalked me, harassed me, broke into my home, watched me while I was sleeping, and it just used my daughter as a pawn, and it just escalated until the point that he actually broke into my home, battered down my front door with a concrete block, punched me, kicked me, gouged my eyes, headbutted me, to the point I ended up having to go to hospital to have 12 stitches in my face. And it was at that point the police came and they arrested him. But obviously there was enough physical evidence that they could see that he'd done it, because my flat was covered in blood. I had blood pouring down my face. He was there denying it and said that he hadn't done anything. I'm like, seriously, the mindset of a narcissist, the denial that they live in, it's insane. But that's probably a whole other show. And and like, I just remember thinking, finally I'm going to be free. But then it took a year to go through all the criminal trials, because I finally spoke up about the fact that he'd been raping me and just everything that had been going on. I just thought, you know what, it's reached the point now, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to feel ashamed or that I have to hide anymore. I thought, I'm done hiding for him. I'm done protecting him, because that's essentially what my silence was. It protected me, but it also protected him in a way.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I'm not doing that anymore. So I spoke out. I did all the criminal trials. I mean, in total, I think there was like 9 different investigations going at the same time. It took a year. That, I mean, out of the 9, he got found guilty for 4 of them. So yes, I say I was lucky to get a conviction, but there was still lots of stuff that they couldn't fully investigate, or that he got found not guilty from because there wasn't enough evidence or whatever. So it's hard going through that. But what I found is, emotionally, I was just really broken by it. It was like I came out of the relationship and I kind of felt that once I had my space, I would be fine, but I really wasn't. And I was finding that I was having nightmares. I was getting signed off work. I was having panic attacks. The doctor gave me antidepressants and said I had like depression and anxiety disorder. I was on sleeping tablets because I couldn't sleep. I slept with a metal pole by my bed because I was paranoid. Even though I knew he was in prison, I was so afraid that he was going to come and get me. You know, he'd already broken into my house twice. And I was just like, all it would have taken is next time for him to come more prepared with a knife. And although I knew he was in prison and he got 11 and a half years, I still had this fear. I was just consumed with fear. And I still, you know, I had a full-time job. I was still working. I was, you know, I had a little girl. She was 4 at the time. So I was trying to look after her and just manage everything. And so I went to the doctors and I was like, I knew I needed something, but I was like, the tablets, I thought, I don't want to stay on tablets, because I knew there was something deeper wrong with me. I felt broken. You know, it was like, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I hated how I looked. I didn't take care of my appearance. You know, I just did the bare minimum. I just was disgusted with who I was, and all I could hear was his voice in my head telling me that I was fat, that I was old, that I was ugly, that no man would want me, that I should be grateful to have him. And it reached a point where I genuinely believed all this stuff that he had constantly been telling me for like the last 6 years. And I thought, how do I get past this? So I went to the doctors and they were like, well, we'll see if you can get counseling. But then the counseling, all they could offer was CBT. And they were like, well, you're not imagining these things. So CBT isn't going to really help you. So they're like, we can't really do anything. So I was like, but where does that leave me? What do I do? Where do I go? So I joined a few groups on Facebook and kind of was watching what other people was posting, and it was helpful because it didn't make me feel quite so alone. But I knew there was something. And in the end, I ended up just paying and going private, and I found a really good therapist, and I had like probably 6 to 8 months of therapy with her, and just really worked through. So she diagnosed me with PTSD because like, I couldn't walk down the street, and if a man was coming towards me, especially if he was tall and big, which was what my ex was, I'd have to cross over. I couldn't go in crowded places. Although I now was able to socialize, I didn't socialize because I was just afraid, and also hate how I looked. So you just get into this really mental place that's just really dark. So I was just like, well, what can I do? And in the UK, there's this thing called the Freedom Program where you can attend it. It's like a 12-week course, and it's done in person, or you can do it online now. And I remember going to that, and that really, really helped.
What's it
And
called?
then the
What's it called?
Freedom Program.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you search for it online, you can find it. And I think it's like £12. It's not expensive. You can do the course online. It's what I've found is, since coming out of that, and obviously healing and setting up my practice and training and qualifying to become a counselor, what I've found is the key thing to do is the first step in healing is educating yourself. You have to educate yourself. And this program, it will give you the very basic understanding of basically what an abusive man is, how he thinks, his beliefs behind how he thinks. It's not talking about narcissistic behaviors in any way. It's just talking about abusive men and their mindset. But it's enlightening if you want to start trying to get a basic understanding of really where you're at, and just trying to understand the situation, because I know it took me a long time to realize that I was even in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Like, the police got called out so many times, and each time I was like, no, it's fine. It's just an argument. It's fine. Go away. No, I'm not pressing charges. But obviously it wasn't fine. But I just made excuses and to myself, and I genuinely believed that. I just thought it was passionate, it was fiery, we was different cultures, he was homesick, he'd moved to a different country, and all of these things to kind of justify
Like it sounds
his
like a lot of,
behavior.
yeah, a lot of excuses, a lot of reasons, and I think you said it clearly, justifying his behavior. I want to go back a little bit because you talked about how your mother said to you, "Hey, if he gives you a black eye, leave him." But you didn't talk, and that we know that, like we know the physical abuse that looks bad,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't talk about the gaslighting, the manipulation, the love bombing, the coercive control, all the tactics that they use before they may ever put a hand on you. And by the time they put the hand on you, all of these things have been in place. And
That's
so I
right.
think that, like you said, education is the most important part because, like you said, you didn't know. I didn't know. A lot of people don't know that those are things that abusers say and do that in their goal is to control you. And I think education, again, if you don't know, oh, Zoe, electricity went out again, you guys. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we're gonna have to reschedule because I think Zoe's electricity went out again. Okay, guys. I don't know what else to do. So we'll pick up another day, I think. Let me see if she comes back in. Otherwise, we may have to reschedule with her.